A lot of people want to get started with Shopify dropshipping, and that makes a ton of sense because it's a great way to make some extra money without all of the hassles of running a traditional business. The issue is a lot of people end up losing money when they first get into dropshipping because they make simple mistakes that can easily be avoided. In this video, I'm going to be going over 10 common mistakes that dropshippers make and how you can avoid those mistakes so you can save a ton of money. If you're a Shopify beginner, this is a great video to watch before you get started so you can avoid these mistakes later down the line. And all I ask is that you hit the like button down below. So with that being said, let's get started. Now, the first mistake you should avoid is not knowing how to select the right products to sell. And dropshipping is a numbers game in two ways. Now, I made a whole video on how to do product research, but the first way this is a numbers game is that people don't plan properly in a financial sense. And what they think is that, if I sell the product for $25 and it cost me $10, I'm going to be making $15 for every sale I get. And this is not how you should be thinking about it. You need to be able to actually account for all of the costs that you're going to be incurring before you choose to sell a product. And this means that you have to account for all of the costs before you actually price a product, which includes the cost of Shopify hosting, your domain, any premium plugins, as well as variable costs, so the actual cost of goods, as well as marketing. And a lot of people also forget that people are going to be requesting refunds, which is also going to be lost money because you did spend marketing money on those people as well. And you have to account for all of this in order to get a right price for your product, as well as be able to determine if your store is going to be profitable. Now, the second way you have to think of dropshipping as a numbers game is you can't get super attached to one product. You can't just find one product that you think is really cool and try to sell it over the course of a month. You have to quickly be able to test new products and validate them and see if they're going to be profitable within a week or two before you spend additional money on that product. And this is because dropshipping is something that can be very profitable. And there's a ton of large companies that will make hundreds, if not thousands of dropshipping stores every single week to test out a ton of products. And then they choose the ones that do really well. As an independent dropshipper, you can't reach the same level of scale with your testing, but you still have to be willing to quickly test out new products and scrap them if they don't work. Because at the end of the day, this is a numbers game where you're trying to find one product that sticks and sells, and then you scale it and then you profit off of that product itself. But you're going to have some failures along the way, and you have to be open to testing multiple products. Now, the second mistake a lot of dropshippers make is that they don't put in the appropriate amount of effort to appear as a real brand. Now, studies show that if you have a strong brand image, you're going to be driving higher click-through rates as well as higher sales. And I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to this. You've probably seen a ton of stores on Instagram that are selling really common dropships goods, such as watches or bikinis. And when you go on their Instagram page, it's very, very obvious that they're a dropshipping store, and this will negatively impact their sales. So you want to make sure you have all of the basics down. You want a proper logo and branding. You want to ensure that you take high quality photos without watermarks and your commercials are good. But most importantly, the mistake most people make is that they don't have a proper domain name. First of all, you cannot actually use the .myshopify domain because people will immediately know that you are a dropshipper. And when you think about it, buying a domain name is a no-brainer because it costs anywhere from like $2 to $20 per year, and it changes the brand perception like tenfold. Now, the other thing is that you don't necessarily need a .com domain. This is because .com has been around for so long, and it's hard to find short brand names that you can actually claim that have the .com domain, so it's totally okay to use alternatives as well. I wouldn't recommend using .ca or geographic specific names unless you're only shipping in that area, but another really good domain you can use, for example, is .store, because a lot of companies use it, such as Billboard, and even PewDiePie's store is a .store domain, and people will know immediately that you're selling something and that your brand revolves around e-commerce, but they won't necessarily know that you're a dropshipper. .store is also great because the domain name is very short and it tells people what your store actually does, and the price is very, very similar to a .com domain, and they always have discounts so you can get domains for as low as $2 per year. So this is one investment you should definitely make to improve your brand. And this builds onto the third mistake a lot of people make, and that is that they don't set up their creatives properly. When you're making advertisements, you want to make sure that they're engaging and very, very high quality. You don't necessarily want to just have a slideshow with pictures. You want to have proper video ads. And even if you're somebody who has a small budget, I would highly recommend that you learn how to video edit and film, or you outsource the advertising to get high quality creatives that are engaging and they look professional, because your ads are literally the piece of content that will be utilized to drive all of your sales. I think it's the most important piece. And at the end of the day, dropshipping is a marketing business because you're trying to have paid advertisements to convert these customers. And so you don't want to skimp out on the ads, and you want to do your research to make high quality creatives. The fourth mistake everyone makes is that they go straight to Facebook when it comes to advertising. And this makes sense because a lot of dropshippers promote Facebook and Facebook ads as like the holy grail. And it is true, Facebook has a lot of great features as well as one of the largest audiences, but you want to make sure that you choose advertising platforms based on the product you're selling. There are a lot of dropshippers that also sell on platforms such as eBay, Pinterest, and Instagram, and they don't necessarily do paid ads. They can also pay, influencers. And so you want to make sure you know about all of the platforms instead of just Facebook ads, and also be willing to test them. And this is because everybody is on Facebook, but there are still untapped niches and places where you can advertise where the cost of advertising is cheaper, and you're going to be reaching an audience that is more tailored depending on your product. So this is something you also want to keep in mind. The fifth mistake people make is that they don't have enough money to start off with. I personally believe that if you want to get into dropshipping, you need at least a few hundred to a few $1,000s to actually begin and actually launch a few stores. And this is because if you only have $100 or $200, you're immediately going to lose money on, influencer ads, as well as setting up the Shopify store and your domain, and then you're going to have a little bit left over, but you need a lot of money to actually begin testing. If you're going to be testing 5 to 6 ads that are targeting different demographics and their different ad styles, you still need to put in, at least $30 to $50 a day to see if each of those ads is going to stick before you even scale. And to run that operation alone, you need a few $100s. And so I think that a lot of people really believe that dropshipping is this get rich quick scheme. And yes, you can make a lot of money with it, but your odds are significantly higher if you have a higher starting budget. And so what I would recommend is that you have at least a couple $1,000s, because there's a high chance your first store won't do well. And even to launch that first store, you want to test out a bunch of different ads. Like I said before, this is solely a numbers game. So not only do you have to try out a bunch of stores, you have to try out a bunch of different creatives, a bunch of different ad copies, different platforms, different influencers, and all of these, add up in terms of costs, and a couple of $100s usually won't cut it. Now, the sixth mistake a lot of dropshippers make is that they only rely on AliExpress to find products, and they don't consider all the different suppliers and wholesalers that are available. Now, you don't need to find a certain supplier right away or a private seller, but you need to realize that there's a ton of different sites where you can find products, and some might even be cheaper or meet your needs more effectively. For example, you can use websites such as CJ Dropshipping or Spocket if you're looking for EU or US suppliers, and there's a ton of other ones. And additionally, later down the line, if your products are selling like hotcakes or you have really high ticket items and you can't afford to have these long ship times because you're losing customers, you can also use fulfillment websites such as ShipBob, and these sites will help you, store products in the US, but that's something that, you can consider once your store is doing really well. But I think just the common mistake is that a lot of people think that they can only be selling through AliExpress and they can't just reach out to suppliers or use other sites, when there are a ton of different places you can also find products to sell where other people might not be looking. Now, the seventh mistake that people make is that they give up far too easily. And this is something that I did at the start as well. I would find a product that I thought was perfect. I was like, okay, this is going to sell like hotcakes. This is the best product there is. And then I would make, a store and be like, okay, this is the best store there is. And then I would make, one advertisement that was really, really good. And I'm like, okay, this advertisement is perfect. Like, I'm going to launch all of this. And then I didn't make any money. And this is because I didn't realize how much testing goes into it. And I've already mentioned this, but the mistake here is that a lot of people give up too easily. Just because a product doesn't sell because of one ad you had doesn't mean that it's a crappy product. There are a lot of tweaks and variables that you can modify, and just shifting those can help you sell your product. There's been so many cases where if you just change the ad copy, which is like the caption of the advertisement, you can drive your conversions and go from unprofitable to profitable. So don't give up right away. You can also test out different kinds of ads, and even things such as, the ratio of the ad or what your scroll stopper is to the first second can make all the difference when it comes to conversions. And so you want to be open to testing all of these things, and make sure you give every single product and advertisement and all of its variables enough time and consideration before you scrap that product. Now, the eighth mistake that people make is that they don't have a win-back strategy in place. Of course, Shopify dropshipping is mostly about marketing and getting people to enter your funnel. But you have to think about which customers are the easiest to convert, the cheapest to convert, and probably the most likely to convert. Is it going to be someone who you're showing an advertisement for the first time? Or is it going to be somebody who already visited your store, maybe they added a product to your cart, but then they decided to go away and they just forgot about it? Obviously, it's going to be the latter because they're way deeper in your funnel. So what we want to do is, beyond just the initial ads you have on Facebook or other platforms, you want to have a win-back strategy for the customers that you almost converted, that were, very hot in the funnel, but didn't end up buying your product. And there's a bunch of different ways you can do this. One main one is through using different Shopify plugins, such as Recart, where you can, message people on Messenger and let them know, that they haven't bought the product yet. Or you can use other plugins where you can email the individual and be like, hey, you still have this in your cart. Here's a 20% discount that you can use. And those things will, push people over the edge and allow them to convert. And since these people are the most likely to convert, it makes sense to have a strategy in place for people that also clicked away. So you want to bake that into your marketing plan as well. Now, mistake number 9 is very minor, but it can also be really costly. And so what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're following the policies of the advertising sites and platforms that you're using. You don't want to have any clickbait. You don't want to give any false information. And, making these sorts of mistakes in your advertisements, sure, in the short run, you're going to get a few more clicks, but once, your ads get flagged and your account gets taken down, it's pretty much over. So just make sure to read the policies as well. And the final mistake that a lot of people make is that they spend a lot of money on the wrong things that they can get for very cheap, if not free. For example, you don't need to spend thousands of dollars on dropshipping courses before you start. The best way you're going to learn is by doing it, and places such as YouTube have all of the information you need, I promise you. You can also go on forums such as the dropship subreddit, and additionally, this also applies to different platforms that promise you that they're going to find you the next hit product. The reality is that there's thousands of people using these sites, and any product they're going to show there isn't going to make you millions of dollars because it's already made a bunch of other people a ton of money. Instead, what you can do is use free alternatives such as AdSpy or other platforms, and just apply this philosophy whenever you're about to spend a lot of money. If there is something that you really want to learn, or there's a tool that you want to use, make sure that you check to see if there's a free alternative, because 99% of the time there is. But those are all the tips I have for this video. If you have any questions or comments, make sure to leave them down below, but that's about it. If you guys did like this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up, and as always, thanks for watching. My name is Ziovo, and I'm signing out.